All right. Hey, everybody. It's Suzanne Edson. I'm a national marketing director and a registered nurse from Naples, Florida. And I'm really excited tonight. There's eight of us that have gotten together as national marketing directors to bring you guys wellness at the end of the month so that you always hear from a professional with great stories and some of the studies behind Juice Plus. So tonight we have Dr. Valerie Miles. And she graduated from magna cum laude from Clemson University, go Tigers, in 1984. She earned her MD degree from the Medical University of South Carolina in 1991 and completed her pediatrics training at the University of Utah in 1995. So she's board certified in both pediatrics and integrative medicine. So for over 20 years, Dr. Miles has owned and operated her own primary care pediatrics practice in Jacksonville, Florida. For 19 of those years, that was in the insurance model that she worked with. And since 2020, she's following her passion to bring these years of experience to the wider world in person with her direct primary care practice, Thrive Well Pediatrics. And you can follow her on Instagram and Facebook. So Thrive Well Pediatrics. Go on there and start to follow her. So welcome, Dr. Miles.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I love that you're doing these calls. I'm so honored to be asked.
Well, I'm glad because I know I have known you for a long time, and I've never really known how you decided, how you found out about Juice Plus and what made you look at it for yourself, for Rebecca and Greg, and for your pediatric patients too.
Well, I had a really tough start from transitioning from being an employed doctor to being an owner doctor. And so I basically didn't know what I was doing because they don't teach us how to do that in school. And so I had the first several years of my practice that I was just trying to pay the bills and keep the lights on and super busy and growing, but just stress all the time.
Yeah.
And I had a family with a mom who was a nurse like you. She's an RN. And she was the one who introduced me to Juice Plus, and she just got super brave. And at one of their checkups, I realized that I hadn't seen them in a whole year, and they used to come all the time. And it was literally every other week that I was seeing them, and all of a sudden I hadn't seen them for a year. And so at the end of the visit, I said, "Hey, you haven't been here in forever. You must be doing something right, and I got to go," because it was just, we could probably chat. It's nice to chat with health professional moms, and but I had kids kicking the door next door. Literally, I'm not even making it up. And she said, "Oh, well, ever since I started on this stuff called Juice Plus, they hardly ever get sick anymore." And she's a nurse, so she's not, if they're sick for a couple of days, she doesn't worry, but they used to be a lot sicker than that. And I said, "Oh, well, that's great." And she said, "Well, have you ever heard of it?" And I said, "Well, no." But I gotta go, right? So I said, "Just leave me some information. I'd be happy to look at it." Right. And so she did. She actually said at the time, "Can I bring you the scientific research packet?" This was 17, 18 years ago. And I sort of must have looked really puzzled and said, "Sure, you can," because no supplement that I'd ever heard of. And I was already an integrative medicine doctor. I was already open-minded. Nothing I'd ever seen had any kind of decent research. So I thought, "Oh, well, that'll be, whatever." And she came and she left the empty bottles so I could see the ingredients. And she left what was the scientific research packet at the time with maybe 14 studies in it. And half of those studies were pilot projects as they got started, and the other half were good gold standard research. And so I didn't know that for about 4 months because the packet got buried under all the mail, and the stack just keeps getting taller. So, but she kept calling, and she kept calling, and she kept calling, and she kept calling, and it was literally whatever it was. 4 months later, finally, and she called every day for a while, every other day for a while, every week, every couple weeks. And I thought, well, it's petering out, but it never stopped. And so then I'm feeling embarrassed because I don't even know where the packet is. And, so it was, I finally said, "Just bring me something to eat and I'll give you 10 minutes because that's how my life was." And so she said, "Done." And so she came and she gave me 10 minutes. She gave me a healthy wrap or something. And I was intrigued because my husband and my daughter, my two people at home, didn't eat enough fruits and vegetables. So I was more attracted on a personal level, which is always my recommendation to people, no matter what the profession of the person is, but no matter how far beyond you they may seem in terms of education or anything, they're just still human beings. So I'm worried about my child and my husband not eating enough fruits and vegetables, thinking this is perfect because they'll swallow the capsules,
Yeah.
if I can't get them to eat enough vegetables. So, but I'm fine. I eat enough vegetables. And so we all three started taking it because I wanted to be a good model. And we all had, I always say I'm very lucky that we had macro changes that we could notice, because there's so much about Juice Plus that's micro, that the changes that you can't feel and the protection you can't feel. So we did have great health changes. And then it just kind of rolled. It took me a couple of years to feel like I could recommend, because there's this ethical issue that we have as docs that make us feel like we can't recommend products that I would be earning money on, because I decided I wanted the best price. I decided I wanted my employees to take it, and so that their kids wouldn't get sick all the time. They could have the free child's Juice Plus. And so I was, I signed up, but then it felt weird to make money off the patients, which is so funny because I'm making money off the patients every visit. It's just, anyway. So once I solved that ethical dilemma, which I talk to other docs about all the time, then I was just amazed at the results I was getting. My first patient that I remember, it really hit me like this is such a gift for people, was a baby she was about 22 months old. I think she had eczema really badly. And she had not slept a night in her entire life because she was itching all the time. She would bleed because she was itching so much. And that mom had been to about 6 different doctors, dermatologists and allergists and all of these things, and had done all the things that she'd been told to do. And she was still having such a hard time. So she heard about me. And I'm supposed to be a miracle worker, but I had an integrative approach. Like, I'm not just thinking about putting cream on things and Band-Aids on things, thinking about what's the root cause of this. And so I listened to her story. She'd done everything I would have told her. And the only thing, I think God sent her, because the only thing that I knew to do that she wasn't doing was Juice Plus. And so I said, well, it makes sense to me because there's studies on inflammation going down and the immune system getting healthier. And before I could even finish my sentence, she says, where do I get it? Because she was so desperate. And so I had her set up a follow-up appointment about a month or 6 weeks later, and to call me in the meanwhile if she had any problems. And she called me about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks in, and she said, can I cancel my appointment, my follow-up appointment? And I said, well, what's happening? And she said, it's 80% better for the first time in her life. And all I did was Juice Plus. And I had a discussion with her because I didn't believe it. I thought she must have done something else. And she really hadn't. And, we don't have dramatic effects sometimes. Like I said, sometimes it's micro effects, but this child just needed flooding of fruits and vegetables into her system and let her body pick up what it needed and the immune system pick up what it needed. And so it was just such a joy. And I said, yes, you have to come back for the appointment so I can see her skin. I can't believe it. And so she did. And so I got to see that with my own eyes. That was a long answer to your story, but I think it helps illustrate, like, once those things start happening to you as a person or a doctor, it doesn't matter, in both, I began to feel like I couldn't hold it from people. That was unethical because the science just keeps piling up. Now we have 48 published clinical studies. So, and that's on people, not on mice and, germs and bugs and yeah.
Well, I love these stories, and we don't make claims, but we have the stories, we have the science
Right.
behind us to back it. So, we were talking earlier about gut health, and I never knew this till I was in this Juice Plus community. What a correlation with gut health and the immune system. Maybe I should have as an RN, but I never paid attention to it. So, could you talk a little bit about gut health and the relation with the immune system?
Yes. And I think that's exactly what was at work with this child's healing, because what what we have is the microbiome. And a lot of people have heard that word, but sometimes you don't know exactly what it is. I always just say it's all the microscopic things that are in us and on us. Most of them are in the colon. So there's about 75% that are in the colon. But we have them on our skin, we have them up our nose, and any place that meets the outside world, you have a microbiome. So the thing is that the good guys that help your health, those are called probiotics. Those guys like fruits and vegetables and healthy food. The bad guys like all the unhealthy food. So when you feed yourself, you're feeding your microbiome, and the one side will grow or the other. So one of the functions of the probiotics, and actually most of your immune system is in your gut, we now know. And the interaction between those bacteria and those immune system cells is really tight. So if you grow lots of good, it's like growing lots of pretty flowers in your garden and you just have a few weeds, that's how you want it. You want it like 80-20, then that's the healthiest microbiome, and that means the healthiest immune system. So we know that if we crave unhealthy foods. I remember back in the day, my elders would say that person just doesn't have any willpower. They eat poorly and they should just have willpower. But it isn't, because the gut bacteria is talking to your brain. So if you have had holidays that go on and on and on with all the treats and everything, you're feeding the bad guys, then they're going to send signals to your brain to say, hey, we want more of that food. And it feels like cravings to you, but it's really them begging for the food they want because they want to stay alive. So when you start eating things that are healthier, the opposite happens, which is you start craving more fruits and vegetables. And that's one of the things that I love about Juice Plus, is that you are sprinkling the fruits and vegetables on them without having to eat them, but you're feeding the probiotics. So in this child's case, she may have had an imbalance, and even though the mom was feeding her really healthy, that then, because the probiotics were more healthy, the immune system also gets all those nutrients. Every cell in the body through the bloodstream is getting whatever you're eating. So the more you can level up the fruits and vegetables, the better for every cell. So then the gut is happier, the gut is healthier, meaning every organ, every cell in your body's healthier. And the immune system is really a big one because most of that's in your gut. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was really, thank
Yeah.
you so much. Because we're talking about like eczema and the allergic part of it. Could you go on to that a little bit?
Yeah. And so really, it seems like a separate thing, like asthma, eczema, allergies. Those are kind of the three conditions that you can have that are part of the allergic system. And they seem separate, but the allergic system is really a part of the immune system. So there's immune system cells and there's histamine and all those things. That stuff comes from the immune system, but we just consider it this special part of the immune system. So when you think about allergies and eczema and asthma, you have to think about immune system, period. It's just there's other things, like you might be allergic to foods or pollens or creams that you put on yourself or things like that. We had a child today who completely broke out on her arm, and it turned out she was putting some kind of cloth from China around her arm like a bracelet, and she got hives from it. So that's a great example of, but it's the immune system trying to defend against something, and it's just overactive. So that's what that is. So anything that's true for the immune system in terms of getting better and getting healthier would be the same for the allergic system.
All right.
Does that answer your question? Yeah, that's.
But I'd love to know, like with Juice Plus, what's like one of your favorite studies for the immune system to show?
Oh, probably because it's near our location, the University of Florida study. Well, there's two really. I'll have to say two, but that was on law students. So they're graduate students. They were studying them during like exam time. They were really having a lot of a lot of stress. So that adds to the not so good part about your health. We know stress really is bad for our health. But also that year, because I remember we lived, it was early in the years that we lived here, and there were 3 different hurricanes that went across Central Florida. And, the whole university was shut down. They lost all their power. So there's all these levels of stress for these guys. And they're doing the studies at the same time. And what they showed was and it's always placebo, which is a dummy capsule, and you don't know whether it's Juice Plus or not, and the real Juice Plus, and split up into groups, and they're living the same life and they're doing the same things. Whose immune system is stronger? And they completely showed that the people that took Juice Plus, even in the same stressful situation, were much their immune system functions and markers and how much they got sick and all of that was much improved just taking Juice Plus capsules. And the other one is the nurses study. So the healthcare professionals in hospitals out of Germany, and those it was the same thing. That's a very high stress job, as you know, Suzanne. Anybody who's a nurse knows. And they did the same thing, split up into groups with placebo and Juice Plus, and they significantly decreased the amount of times they were sick and the length of time they were sick with colds and things during that winter that they studied them. Yeah, so those are my two favorite, because we want just real life. We don't want to know test tube stuff,
Yeah,
That's
that's
why I love that all these studies are on people.
yes, that's a great point too. And then talking about the diets of, our children, but of us, but, and we were talking about the pregnant moms and, nursing, and, a lot of us are past that, time, but, what's your experience with that, with the diet for, with Juice Plus, adding Juice Plus, but the diet and your immune system?
Yeah, I mean, I was my first guinea pig, but I didn't think that, I thought I ate really healthy. I ate salads all the time and blah, 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 whatever. But then I started taking Juice Plus because I'm trying to be a good model for my daughter, especially, who was 9 at the time. And so I'd take it and she'd take it. But also for my husband, because he would be one to say, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to take that anymore. So I'm like, I'll take it, you take it. We got to be a good model for her. So I didn't think I would have any significant difference. It's capsules. How good can it be? That was my skepticism at the time. But within a few weeks, and I didn't connect this with Juice Plus until I ran out.
Right.
And I thought, I don't know if this is worth it. And I stopped for a while. And then all these things started coming back, like my craving for coffee, which had completely gone away, 3 cups to 0 within a few weeks. And my ability to sleep, my stress level was still very high, but I had started sleeping again instead of waking up every 2 hours in the night. And also I hadn't gotten sick for an entire winter, which as a pediatrician, that was the first year ever in my whole career that I hadn't gotten sick in a winter. Everybody's coughing in your face, it's just, we're around germy people all the time. So that I was my first own, kind of experiment, I guess. And that's what I always say is you're just experimenting on yourself. Take it for 4 months, which is the time it takes for your immune system to completely renew itself. So in 4 months of taking Juice Plus every day, now you have a brand new immune system full of all the nutrients that you didn't have before. And that's why I didn't get sick. So that's the first thing to know, is just be your own science experiment, but not for 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. Really, you need 4 months at least for immune system stuff. And so what you're asking though about diet is so important, because we live in America, and I was blessed to be able to go to Europe just recently. It's a whole different thing. You walk down a street and there's fruits and vegetables and healthy food everywhere. People walk everywhere. It's just a little bit different. And so we have to make a special effort to stay healthy, because we live in America and the food industry is a very powerful lobby. And we sell things here that they would never think of putting in their food in Europe. So we have that to recover from, almost like detoxing. So when we think about diet, we have to think about what was the diet that humans survived on thousands of years. And all they had was what was on the planet, not stores and factories and all of that. So our bodies really function the best when we eat whole foods. And I find that, talking about nursing and children and pregnancy and all of that, of course, you're getting advised when you're pregnant to eat as healthy of a diet as possible. And then the baby comes out, and ideally, the ideal food is breast milk. Some people aren't able to do that, so we try to find the healthiest formula that matches as well. But when you nurse, you're feeding the baby what you're eating. So that's just passing on, right? And then you're going to start solid foods on the baby. So this is the place where really I find I can make the most impact to help people. Have a child who doesn't get picky. Super easy. We just have to feed savory foods first all the time. And we need to do that for ourselves. It's been shown with adults who eat their veggie course first, and then their protein and their fat, and then their starch. So that means their potatoes and sweet stuff last, that all you have to do is eat in that order. And often you come out of prediabetes. They've shown you can lose weight just eating in that order because you've filled yourself with the bulky vegetables first, and it slows the rush of the sugar into your bloodstream. So what I do with babies when we're starting solid foods at 6 months is that same thing, that they don't get to eat anything but vegetables. They have to try all the vegetables. So it's like a month later before they even have a fruit. And when they do, it's dessert. So you have to have your vegetable first, then you can have your fruit. And if we just eat like that, we from the beginning, and parents don't let their kids, once the kids are starting to crave more and more fruit, that's a signal that those bacteria down there are talking to the brain and saying, hey, we want more fruit. We want more sweets. And that's a bad sign. So it's like the big sign, the big red flag waving. And so it's the same thing for us. If we're having cravings, we just need to switch that microbiome and flip it. And the easiest way to do it, I feel like, is Juice Plus capsules, because there's hardly any sugar in there, but you're getting all the nutritious stuff from the fruits and vegetables and the nutrients. And it's not just a story, like you said, it's just proven out with the science. So, yeah. So pregnancy, obviously, there's actually a pregnancy study that showed that taking Juice Plus versus not taking Juice Plus, that we had a lot less preterm delivery, babies going to the NICU, preeclampsia was reduced by just taking Juice Plus. So I think that if you think about it, if you think, well, if I rush all this good nutrition into my system in a way that my body's looking for it as an ancient human, because we kind of still are ancient humans, then every cell is going to function better, meaning every condition that is lacking in some way in those cells is going to get better. And we can't promise that everything's going to get better because everybody's their own individual human, but it's just so fascinating and so simple. I love talking about it because
I love hearing it.
yeah, I do, because it's if there weren't 48 published clinical research studies on Juice Plus, because we went from 14 when I first heard about it to 48, almost 50 now, I would not be here talking about this at all. I love you. I'd be your friend, but I wouldn't, you got to have the research though.
Yes,
So I hope
exactly.
that's helpful.
Oh my gosh, that was so informative. The vegetables first for dinner. I've never done that. So
Isn't that
thank
crazy? Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. I learned a lot tonight, and I really,
Good. I hope that was helpful for everybody. I'm so glad everyone was here.
yeah.
Suzanne, can I ask Dr. Miles a quick question that Karen had asked in the chat? She said the child you were talking about at the very beginning, did
Yeah.
she open up the capsules and put it in food or water, or did the child take the capsules, swallow them?
That child, yeah, that's a good question. That child was 22 months when I met her, so she was closer to turning 2 when I had that follow-up. And she used the gummies. She actually used the soft chews. So yeah. And there aren't as many studies using the soft chews. They're mostly capsules, but I do have people often ask me, when can I start Juice Plus? And I say, well, if you're nursing, you start it on day 0, day 1, with the baby. But you can start when you're starting solid foods, to just start sprinkling little bits on solid foods,
like a quarter
because
of
they're
a
new
capsule?
foods. What's that?
Yeah. Would you do a quarter of a capsule, or how much
Yes,
sprinkling?
probably start with a quarter capsule. And I usually tell them just start with a pinch and build up, because, we never know if they're going to be reactions. Great thing about Juice Plus is that it's hard to have real allergic reactions to Juice Plus because there's no protein in there. And protein is what the component of food that causes allergies. So yeah. So
I've always
being
wondered.
allergic to Juice Plus is usually not allergic to Juice Plus. It's a detox reaction, because it's really helping you detox your body every day when you take it. So sometimes people are sensitive to that.
All right, because I had always wondered, if you're taking it during pregnancy and the baby's already getting it, you know, coming out of that, just making sure they still get it. So
Yeah.
I like that
So
idea.
nursing's best and the easiest way to continue to do that. But we just like we wouldn't want to start solid foods at 1 week old or 1 day old. We wouldn't, you know, it's food, so we want to
Yeah.
wait a little while.
I think the old days, didn't we put oatmeal in it to help them go to sleep? Well, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, rice cereal they used to put in
Yeah.
bottles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how old I am. I used to do that back in the day.
Yeah. Now we
Long
know
time.
not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh,
That's
thank
a
you
good
so
question. Thanks for asking. Sorry.
That was a great question. Yep. So I am going to stop the recording, and then if